Welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Heather. And together we are working to connect women in leadership and business, empowering each other, improving the health and wellness of our community, body, soul, and mind, connecting to the heart and soul of who we are and what we do.
It's Monday. You guys, it has been so full and busy for us today, but it has been amazing. So you guys get us at the desk today.
Ooh, it's because we're busy working.
Mhm.
Literally, we've already had appointments this morning. We've completed projects. We're rolling.
We had a Zoom first thing this morning, so our camera and headphones and everything else were already over here. So here we go.
We have appropriate sized coffees.
Appropriate sized coffees for Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to get into today's topics.
Yeah.
We are going to have some more back and forths with Don Miguel, talking about being impeccable with your word, which
is great, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love that we've been working on the 4 agreements and that we keep talking about it because the more we talk about it, the more difference it's making in our lives.
Yeah. And it's just incredible. We have had people ask us, where did you get that book? Or what's that book you've been talking about? Or it keeps coming up in conversation, which is kind of fun.
I feel like people are finally getting the book, right? Like we've been talking about it for a year now. Really, now that we've been gone so far in depth, it's been better. I would like to say that my son does not like the wording. Which one? Don't take anything personally. He feels that does,
like when you tell him that he's taking something personally,
he feels like it invalidates his feelings, and that's not the intent. So I want you to be aware of that. Like somebody could feel that way if you're like, don't take things personally, blah, blah, blah. That's dismissive of their feelings. That's not the point of this conversation, right? So I talked to him about changing the wording to how can you take your power back in this situation.
I think that was a really good
and then that got his little wheels turning, like, oh, you're not saying that I'm invalid, because that's not the message I'm saying at all.
No.
Right? Like, so I just wanted to throw that out there, like, just to be aware that that's one pushback that I've gotten. It's not about, but it's recognizing that he's taking it personally, that I don't need to react. I can let him work that out. Not my monkey, not my circus, right?
Right.
And so in my head, I can be, he's taking it personally, but I'm going to say to him, how can you get your power back in this situation? Yeah. So that's exciting because he's 17 and a half. I want him to be able to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And not take things so personally.
I feel like he is able to communicate his feelings much better than some other students I know around the same age with a lot of the same problems.
Well, I did do like a year of in-home counseling with him. So we definitely have worked hard on it. And it's just starting. Just always start, always be aware, always growing. And then he's forward. We're 2 people living with PTSD in the same house. So sometimes we trigger each other, and not being offended when someone else is triggered is part of it, right? It's part of the healing process.
Yeah.
It's good news.
I can't wait to talk about it some more.
Yeah. Okay.
And so this week's leadership topic.
Leadership mindset tool is recognizing potential. Woo-hoo. Great leaders have a keen eye for recognizing potential talent and
competencies in the workplace. They also don't shy away from acknowledging the abilities and achievements of their employees.
Boom, that works with your family too, right? So we've been working on cleaning the bathroom sink completely,
right?
And getting underneath the soap dispenser, like all the things. He's like, I did get under there, but I was like, well, maybe we need to wash the soap dispenser off then. Like some things that's like, So, but acknowledging that for our children, even for people around us, hey, I see you trying to do the thing. You're doing a good job at this thing. It's like that feedback, right? Like you're given, like you give them a task and then you're like, yeah, you're doing great.
And if you have someone who thrives in a certain area, maybe you utilize that to work with them, to encourage them to grow more.
Right.
Not necessarily be like, okay, this is your baby now.
No.
But like give them a little bit more responsibility and a little bit more responsibility and see what they are truly capable of, because I don't know about you, but when I feel like I am given this like responsibility to like take care of, it makes me feel really good about myself that somebody else trusts me with that.
Somebody else trusts me.
Yeah.
I am trustworthy. These are the messages you get, right? Like, I'm trustworthy. Someone else gave me responsibility because I am trustworthy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, there we go again. I'm trustworthy. Great. No,
so
that's
recognize
really
potential in the people that you work with. And if you are a solopreneur, recognize the potential in the other people around you. Encourage them along the way, because encouraging people encourage people, just like hurting people hurt people. You know, encouraging people encourage people, and then that ripple effect from the encouragement is just, it's just awesome.
It is awesome, and seeing it happen is such a gift to yourself.
Yeah, it's super fun watching our friends and business ladies just grow.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It brings tears to my eyes. I get so excited. They think I'm weird, I know, but I get excited when they do a reel or they, step out of their comfort zone and do something new that I know was hard for them. Like, I love you and I think it's amazing. I get all excited, like, you're but back on track because it's Monday. And we're gonna do the review of the 4 agreements, because I love going over it and just keeping it top of mind every single week. It really has been awesome and life-changing. I had a very triggering event this weekend, and I was able to take a breath and work through it, whereas before I would have just shut down.
Did you go through your checklist?
I did, and it helps so much. So the checklist is these things. So the 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word.
Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love.
Don't take anything personally.
Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering.
Don't make assumptions.
Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And it does work.
And finally, always do your best.
Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
Self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
Self-judgment's been coming up a lot lately. Working with people and their own self-judgment, and being like, well, where is that coming from? This morning you were like, you need to take that judge out to the back 40 and just give her a what for.
The judge was like raining hard down. I could just see them sitting there with the mallet. No. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
No. Yes.
Yeah, you can. You are capable. You are amazing just the way you are. So don't let that judge get you.
So
be impeccable with your word is the topic today.
So again, if you have somehow missed this, we are reading the Four Agreements companion book with Don Miguel Ruiz. And it says with Janet Mills. I hadn't noticed that in the little white writing down there. That's cool. Now I'm looking at the aesthetic and my brain went into design mode.
Switch gears. Come back.
Back. So we went through the Four Agreements, the main book, and we had deeper discussions about each of these topics. And now we're into a part where Janet Mills is asking Don Miguel Ruiz questions. And so we are doing a little question Q&A here.
Mhm.
So, and then we'll talk about each one and how we feel about that. So we're on to being impeccable with your word,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And just make sure I'm on the right page and I'm not doing something foreign here. Okay.
You are.
All the magic you possess is based on your word. Ooh, we do talk about the power of words a lot.
Mhm.
Depending on how you use the word, it can set you free or can enslave you even more than you know.
Mm. With that fear and doubt, all
And
that
then
negative
you let
self-talk.
those words get in there, and
That's the parasite that we talked about last week, right?
Yeah.
So this week we're going to talk about battling against the parasite, basically,
By having control over our words. And taking that back for ourselves, especially. So here's the question. If someone asks me what I think about someone else, I tell the truth. I feel like I'm gossiping. If I don't tell the truth, then I'm lying to that person. What should I do?
Don Miguel says, just don't give any information. It's the same advice as my grandfather used to give me. Don't put your nose where nobody wants it. Just say, I have no opinion, or it's not my business.
Ooh. Just get off the drama bandwagon.
Yep. No, don't go there. Right?
Right.
Just don't engage.
Right.
And that's okay.
All right. That seems pretty self-explanatory. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Came to mind.
Yep.
Like
Keep your
this
nose
is
in your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't need to
Pretty
have an
straightforward.
opinion about someone else's stuff.
No, because that's gossiping. That's not being impeccable.
So even if
with your
you
word.
are having an opinion and you're expressing it, you're so gossiping. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay. Cool. Question. Does being impeccable mean that you will always tell the truth when it hurts someone's feelings? How can I be impeccable without damaging my relationship or hurting others?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh boy, that's a big answer too.
Don Miguel says, well, you are also impeccable when you don't put your nose where nobody wants it. You don't have the right to try to fix other people's points of view. You don't need to be right and make them wrong because of what you believe. They have the right to suffer if that's what they want to do. Many times people don't want you to tell them the truth. They only want you to tell them what they want to hear. You have to be wise enough to understand that when they ask you something, they are expecting a certain answer. You can go along with the game or not, it's up to you. But you don't need to create a lot of enemies by telling them what you think is true. That is not what they want to hear. Again, it's just common sense. You can avoid the question, or you can tell them that you don't have any opinion about that. The problem is that they can take your words and change your words and use them for gossiping. Many people only want your point of view to get evidence of what they believe about themselves or about someone else. They will come to you and ask, what's your opinion? What do you think about this or that? And you can give your sincere opinion, but they will change it. And then they will say that you said that about them and involve you in gossip. This reminds me of another thing my grandfather used to tell me. He said, when you know you are going to make a mistake, shut your mouth. And if you already made a mistake, shut your mouth even tighter. That's funny. I like that. Don't even try to fix it. You can only make it worse because people will change everything you say.
Wow.
Sometimes you give information to your friends because you trust them and believe they are loyal to you. Maybe it's your best friend. And you gossip about yourself and tell her what you feel about yourself, about other people, making the assumption that she will not share it with anybody. And perhaps this is true until she is no longer your friend. If something happens and she gets hurt or angry and breaks the friendship with you, a way for her to get even with you is to gossip all about the information you gave her. Something you have to learn about gossiping is that it begins with yourself. Don't gossip about yourself.
Wow.
How many times have you experienced that or seen that happen?
Definitely.
Where
Well,
a friendship
especially
breaks
watching.
down because somebody gets
Right.
offended because they take it personally,
Right.
or whatever, or they make an assumption, a fight ensues, you end up not being friends anymore, and
And
then they
then
go and
tell your
tell-
business to the whole world.
yeah,
Things that were shared or talked about in confidence, like
yeah,
because you were judging yourself harshly. Now that's out there.
and we talk about our judge all the time. And we talk about what we're going through in our lives with you guys all the time. I don't feel like it's gossiping because it's not information. Like,
I'm not.
I can be vulnerable without giving away my own private information that I want to keep private.
We're not giving away our power when we're vulnerable.
No.
We're being honest about what's happening in our lives when we share it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not telling other people how we're judged ourselves over these things, or we don't usually talk about how we had to work through the way we're talking to ourselves, because I think that if we did that, we wouldn't be where we are here.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like we wouldn't be here in front of the camera if we didn't do all that work already.
Right. And we continue to do the work.
Right.
And grow and share that experience with you guys.
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like it's just part of the growing process.
Yeah.
And part of being impeccable with our word with you guys. Just sharing that.
Yeah.
So it's different than what this is talking about, with sharing all your secrets with someone that you end up not being able to trust later. You might trust them in the now, but
and I like that
later.
That when you know you're going to make a mistake, shut your mouth. If you've already made a mistake, shut your mouth even tighter. Have you ever seen someone like, you're like, wow, you dug yourself into a hole? Oh, it's just digging deeper. Just stop. Like,
yeah, just
that's exactly what that is. Like,
my kids all the time. Nope. Okay.
All right. Question. If you have a relationship with someone who is not a good communicator or who doesn't like to communicate with me, how do I establish good communication?
That's a good question.
That is a really good question.
If someone doesn't want to listen to you, why do you have to waste your time trying to talk to that person?
Why are you forcing it?
Why
are you forcing
That's funny.
it? Wow.
That's the first sentence he says.
Dang.
If the person wants to hear what you have to say, he is going to try to use his attention to understand you. But if he doesn't want to even pay attention to you, why do you have to bother spending your time with that person? It's not really your problem. One thing I used to teach my apprentices is to practice communicating to a wall. A wall doesn't react, and you don't expect it to understand what you're trying to say. You don't look for many ways to say the same thing, and by practicing in this way, your communication skills become stronger.
Oh.
Then, if it's really important to you that this person understands you, you're going to look for all the different ways to communicate what you want to say. And if that person doesn't understand your communication, it's not up to you. You did your best. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
All right. So response. Okay, but what if someone is willing to communicate but doesn't know how to express his feelings? Is there something I can do to help him communicate?
Oh, wow. I wonder if this is going to bring it.
I don't know.
Well, just let that person know that he has your full attention, that you are willing to listen, that you are willing to communicate. You invite him to communicate, but you cannot force him to communicate. If that person is very important to you, If it's your own child or your mother, your spouse, your sister, someone whose presence you cannot avoid, then you can make yourself available to communicate. But if that person doesn't want to communicate, just accept him the way he is. And if it's someone you really don't need to be around, then you don't have to be around that person, because it's not fun really if there's no communication. Don't force it.
And being open to them communicating, like,
Yeah.
because sometimes, and I think it's that vulnerability, like when we were learning to communicate better, I remember a year ago being like, okay, I'm going to try to communicate this thing. Can you give me the grace to get it out? Like, I'm not sure how to get it all out. And so we would have conversations like that, or I have conversations like that with my son, like, hey, I'm going to work through this for a little bit. Let me work through it. Don't get hung up on my words, as I'm trying to be impeccable with my word until I can get the right wordings. And so that takes practice.
It does. Communication takes practice, and learning how to communicate with another person takes practice, because everybody communicates a little bit differently.
Right.
Communicating with your kids, they have their own dream, their own story, so they communicate a little differently because they're communicating in their own way.
Right.
Yeah. It's a thing.
I'm
not the mom of teenagers.
I was thinking of my adopted grandson. He's almost 4, and he is learning to communicate pretty well. And I was hearing a story about how he feels like he's not heard sometimes, and he'll be like, Mom. And he like makes this dramatic, like where he like puts his hand in his forehead, like, Mom, you're not getting me. Mom, I said fries. I was like, oh my gosh. You don't
understand.
You don't understand me. He's 4. Oh my goodness. I love this book. I love getting to go through and talk about topics that I wouldn't necessarily think of as coming up, because it's just such a different perspective, right? And we absolutely love it, and we appreciate you joining us here on another Mindset Monday, where we got to talk to you a little bit about recognizing potential as a leadership mindset tool.
And communicating.
We didn't know that was going to be the topic today, right? Who knew? So
we have a couple more weeks left of the year. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves in this busy season. And make sure you schedule some time for yourself to have a little fun and get a little rest too.
Yes.
Okay.
And Susan and Greta are almost
home. I saw this weekend they had less than 200 miles to go.
Ooh,
they
that's
passed
like 10 days
miles of hiking spot.
They're like down to like the last 10 days ish.
Yeah.
Or more less.
Well, their goal is to be home by the 23rd of December. So that's just a couple days till Christmas, and today's the 12th. So that's 10 days. Within the next 10 days, they should be home.
Super excited for them. And I'm hoping that we can squeeze in an interview during our off time. But we'll squeeze it in, because these ladies have done an amazing thing, and it's really awesome. So if you want to hear more about that, just stay tuned, and we hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Have an awesome week.
Namaste.
So we are Sue and Greta, or our trail names are Lilo and Stitch, and we are hiking the whole Appalachian Trail from Maine to Georgia, so 2,194.3 miles. And we're doing it to raise $50,000 or more.
Yes.
For Parkinson's disease research.
Yeah, through the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And we are doing it all in honor of my dad, her husband, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease back in 2010. So and we all know so many people who are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and we are trying to do our small part in the world of Parkinson's disease to find a cure.
Thank you for joining us today on the Women in Leadership Body, Soul, Mind, and Business podcast. Please download the podcast on your favorite podcast player. We love you, and we will see you next time. Namaste.